Hey everyone, welcome to episode 1 of our Unity idle game series. Today we're just sort of going to go through downloading and setting up Unity, and then we're going to go through the basics of making an idle game. Now let's get right into it. So first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure you have downloaded Unity Hub. To do that, you want to go to this link up here. It will also be in the description, and then you're going to click download Unity Hub. You're then going to go through all the setup, and then after that I'll see you after you've done that. Okay, after you've done that, you want to open up Unity Hub. Mine's currently out of date, I need to update it. But you should have around 2.4.3 or what, as the time of upload, the latest is 2.4.3. You should be in the projects tab or something, or maybe the learn. But what you want to do is come down to installs here. You might not have this, you probably actually won't know. And you just want to click add. And I'm going to be making this for Android. I'm going to be using 2020.2.6 F1. You can no longer get that. You could upgrade to... I recommend you get basically the most stable release. In the official releases, go to Unity 2021.1.5 F1 or whatever the most recent one is. That's what I recommend you get. First, be using 2020.2. There's not really a difference between which one you use, to be honest. So don't really worry about it too much. Obviously, 5-10 years down the line, Unity is going to be completely different. But for now, let's not worry about that. I'll probably, we could always remake the series many years down the line if we're still making tutorials. Probably will be, I can't lie, but we'll see. Anyway, you're going to click that, click next, and then I'm going to be downloading Visual Studio. If you don't already have it, you want to download that, but I've already got it downloaded. I'm going to be building for Android in this series, so I'm going to want to tick all of these 3 boxes. If you don't want to build for iOS, tick that as well, or Linux or Windows and stuff like that, but I'm only going to be building to Android in this series. And you just click next and then set up everything you'll need. But I'm not going to be downloading any new versions because I've already got one. Anyway, once you've gone to your projects, once you've downloaded that could take a while. Go to your projects, then click on new, or you might have to click the little arrow next to new and click the version. We're going to want 2D, and I'm going to call this, I'm just going to call it YouTube idle game. And you're going to select your location you want to save it in, create. And then after you've clicked create, it will load up, and I'll see you once it's loaded. Okay, once your unit is opened up, you should see something like this. If not, click window, and then layouts and default, and it will reopen it, and you'll have the layout which I do. Now I'm going to just close that up a little bit because we don't need to open that wide. Close up the inspector a little bit, and bring that down a bit, just so we got a bigger front screen. I'm gonna get our game tab up here, hold click on that and drag it to the side there and just make that smaller. First thing we're going to want to do to make this compatible with Android, we want to click File, Build Settings. This is where you actually make your project into a package, sort of. And then we're going to click on Android and switch platform. Of course, if you're building something else, you want to click that, but I'm just going to be building to Android straight away. Going to give that time to do its thing. Okay, once that's happened, we're going to close that now, and now we've got an Android project. So you want to go over to your game where it says free aspect, click that, and then click 16:9. This is like our aspect ratio for our game. Now we're going to be able to scale this depending on the screen device, so don't worry, we'll get to that. In fact, actually, we'll do that now. So we're going to right-click in the hierarchy. The hierarchy is basically where all your objects are stored. We're going to want to open our sample scene. We're going to right-click, and then we're going to click UI and find Canvas. We don't need to name this. Now, you'll see this will create a canvas and an event system. The canvas is where all of our user interface is going to be stored. The user interface is like buttons and images and text and basically stuff that appears on the screen. like 2D stuff that's on the screen, basically. Interactable things. And the event system's basically what makes the whole canvas system work. So you can like tap the screen and it will respond to the tap. It's basically that's what the event system, in a nutshell, does. Now on our canvas, we're gonna click on. We're gonna find canvas scaler. Open that up if it's closed already, and make this scale of screen size. This is because if it's just on constant pixel size, let's right click UI. You don't have to do this, but I'm just going to add an image quick. Right, let's say if it's constant pixel size, no matter the screen size, the image will always stay the exact same size. So that means we could say we had, it was on this side of the screen here. When we're scaling up our screen, it can go half out the screen on some devices, and some devices won't even be touching the side. That's why we don't really like to use scale with screen size. Whereas if we make this scale with screen size, sorry, that's why we don't like to use constant pixel size. If we make the scale of screen size, no matter the size of the screen, it will always stay in the exact same position, which is what we want. It does mean we'll have to size this back up a bit though. But look, if we now it stays in the exact same space no matter where. We could put this on the side here, exact same space no matter where, which is just what we want. Just to make it a bit more accurate on our canvas, we can go reference resolution, make this the same resolution as what we've got here. So on the X would be 900 and the Y would be 1600, and then make this 0.5 on the match. This basically perfectly distributes the scale. Now I can delete that image now. But what we will do is create a button. So let's go right click on the canvas, UI, and a button. This will set the button in the middle of the canvas. This button here, we can either go in the inspector and find the name there, or we can right click on the button and click rename, or if you could press I've moved my canvas system in, or you could press F2, and then we could I'm just going to call this click. This is the button, this is the main button we're going to click to get points. Now we're going to simply get this button and we're going to click this up here, so the rect tool. So we're going to click the rect tool button up there. It's sort of like the 4 squares with lines in between. And now we'll be able to scale this up. If we hold shift and scale up from a corner, we can go out perfectly in that corner. And it will stop us from doing all this as we resize. It'll be perfect. But anyway, I'm gonna make the width on this 300 and the height is gonna be 300, not 3,000, 300. And then we're gonna leave this is all in the rect transform, by the way. We're gonna leave the anchor on the center. Actually no, we're gonna click anchor, click on center, and then hold Alt and click center again. We're gonna make all these 0. The anchors are where it's anchored to. So say if I anchor this to top right, it's always going to be minus 800 on the Y from the top. It will never be less than that. So I made it center, it'll always be 0 from the middle, so it will always be bang on in the middle, never less or more, if that makes sense. Anyway, now we're going to go to our text. Whoops, not that. We can double click our text as center on our screen, and there's a few things we're going to change here. First, we're going to leave all the rect transform, we don't need that. And the canvas renderer, we can leave that. But we're going to find the text, and first of all, we're going to want to make sure the alignments are both the middle there. We're going to click best fit and make the maximum size 300. That is the maximum size you can go. Now on the text, you can do some rescaling if you want. I might make it a little bit smaller and then reopen my rect transform. And set this to 0, 0, 0, 0, just to make it perfectly in the middle, basically. Oh no, that's to really change the size. We can kind of adjust it like that, and make sure you've got the blue lines in the center. That's better. Now we can click on color. I'm gonna make it more black. We can go bold font. I'm just gonna keep it at normal. You could change the font here, but you can import your own fonts, but we're not going to do that this episode. We might in a future episode, but for now we're just going to keep it very basic for the first episode. Anyway, next you're going to right click in the assets area, project, click create, and a folder. This is going to be called scripts. All code made in Unity is done with C#. So you're going to right click C# script, and then, well, most code is anyway. I think you can get JavaScript main game, and enter. Now we're going to go through a couple of different things in this series. We're going to talk about saving, unsecure and secure saving actually. We're going to talk about offline production as well. But for now, we're just going to double click the script. It should open with Visual Studio or whatever your default IDE is. And then once this is loaded up, we can do our first bit of coding. The coding here is going to be really simple. First of all, we're going to need these for future episodes, but for now, I'm going to see where these lines are. Right at the top, I'm going to do a / and then a star, and then that will comment out everything in front of it. Then under here, I'm going to put a star and then a / and that will uncomment it. So anything in here is going to be commented. And then we're going to drop down 2 lines, and I'm going to say public void button. No, I'm going to say click. And then I'm going to do brackets, and then these braces. I just call these braces because I'm pretty sure that's what they're called. Or curly brackets, you could call them. I'm going to be calling them braces. Now here you've made a function. I'm not going to go too in depth with coding. I'm not going to explain stuff way too much, but I will explain it. But if you don't want us to do after this series, like proper sort of beginners coding, actually, I'll try and explain it, but it won't be the most in depth. If you want it more in depth, we could do a separate series on that if you don't want. Just like this video and stuff like that. But anyway, what this is saying is the void means it's got no return. This here is creating a function. Now the void means it doesn't return anything. If you wanted to return like the letter, let's say we had a variable called hello, no number. Let's say we had an integer called number as a variable, and we wanted to return that. This wouldn't be a void. But what it means by public is it means it can be accessed by any other script. And the click is just the name of it, and we have to have the brackets to show that it's a function. And then the braces start all the script. So your brace might actually be down like that. That's fine as well. I just prefer to have mine like that. Anyway, next we're gonna say right at the top here, we're gonna drop down a couple of lines, and we're gonna say public. Once again, making a public variable. This one's gonna be a variable. We're gonna say int for integer. Integer is a whole number. Any whole number from -1. I think an integer can have like 60 something zeros in it, all the way up to 1 with 60 zeros. So we're gonna call this money. Money. And we're going to put a semicolon. That's what you have to do with each line in C#. You have to put a semicolon after it, unless of course it's a function here. We wouldn't put a semicolon because then it wouldn't work. This is creating a new. Basically, what this is doing is creating a new variable, a new integer, whole number, and which is going to be called money. You could call this anything. You could call this points. You could call it. It can have capitals. I recommend you don't have capitals though to start with on variables. We could have like money number, and the second word would be capital, but not the first letter. Anyway, this is creating a new, as I say, the variable money is because we could say equals 10 with a semicolon, and then that will set the money to 10 as soon as you play. But because we just want it to be 0, rather than saying equals 0, we could just put the semicolon there without the equals. That automatically sets it to 0 by default. That's the only variable we want for now. Now on click, we just want to say money plus equals money plus 1. Now there's a few ways of writing this. What this is saying is money is adding 1 to itself. A short way of writing this is saying plus equals 1. Then that's just saying that it's going to add 1 every time this function is called, it's going to add 1 to the money. And we're going to call this function every time the button's clicked, which we'll do in a minute. An even easier way of doing this is saying money plus plus. Now you could do money plus, you could do money, if you wanted to add 1 each time, you could do money plus plus, or you could do money minus minus to minus each time. I'm just going to do plus plus for now. This only adds 1 each time, so you can't say, you know, money plus equals 5. Well, you could say that, but you can't do that if you're only doing plus plus. Plus plus only works for adding 1. And then we're going to do a semicolon. Now, if we Control S to save this, or I don't know what it is on, I don't know what any of the shortcuts are on Mac, I don't have a Mac, but or you could do File and then, where is it, Save, boom, and then go to Unity. It's going to import. When it's imported, you're going to want to go to your hierarchy, right click and create empty. We're going to call this game handler. This object here is going to have our script on it, because our script can't actually be activated until it's on an object. So just going to put it on this object here, and this object's sort of like our reference to this script now. So what I mean by that is if we go to our click button here, if we scroll down, we'll see on click and the button. If I click add onto that, it will give us this runtime only no object. What we want to do, because we want to get the object of our script on, which is the game handler. So we drag that into the none object, and then we click function main game, and then click. And now if we run this game, not the game, but the project, it's not really a game at the moment. Go to game handler, we can see our money's at 0. It's not gonna do anything at the moment. There we go. Yep, yeah, now it is. And every time we click it, our money goes up, as you can see, which is just what we want. But now we want sort of text to say. So it says here button. I'm going to make this click me just for now. Now we're going to want to right click on the canvas, click UI and text. And we're going to call this money text. This is going to be our money text. I'm going to center this to the top, hold Alt and then click the top again to set it there. Now we're going to make this money colon and space and 0, just as a default. Set this to the middle in the alignment. This will make sure it's all in the middle of the square. Best fit, I'm going to say it's 300. I'm going to make this text white. What I'm also going to do is click on, actually no, we won't do that in this episode. Now that we've got white text, you can scale this up. I'm just going to scale it like so. Just like that. Maybe drag it down. I can press W to on my keyboard to bring up the arrow keys. It's going to drag this down a bit more, so it's not exactly on the top, but just so it's down a bit, like so. And now we can go back into our script, and here's where we want the update. So we're going to get rid of this. Although I'm going to put a star there, and then a star slash there, just to get rid of the start method, because we won't need that just yet, but we will need it. Now the void update, I'll explain in a minute, but first we're going to want to go to the top and say using Unity engine, oops if I could spell, .ui, all capitals. And then this is allowing us to get things such as text and stuff like that off of Unity. So we could now do public text. Now what it means by using Unity engine .ui is that we can get any UI, any of Unity's UI into our script. So we can say public text and then money text, the M lowercase, the T capital. It doesn't really matter, but I'm also going to drop a line just for neatness. And in the void update, we could say money text dot. Before we do that, I just want to say void update. We talked about this. Obviously, it's void because it doesn't return anything. And by update, the void update is a built-in function, which allows you to. It basically runs whatever script's in the function every single frame. So for every one frame, it will run that script once. So say you're getting 60 FPS, it's running everything in here 60 times a second. Which, it sounds like it's going to be really demanding on your computer, and it sort of is. But it depends how much stuff you have in the void update. But it's really the best way of doing texts accurately. And anyway, so .text, all lowercase, equals. And then we're going to put quotation marks, money, colon, space, end the quotation marks, then a plus, and then money dot toString, and then a semicolon. Now what this is saying is we're getting the money text variable that we created, and then we're saying dot text, so this will allow us to change the text of it. And we're going to equals to, and whatever's in the quotation marks will be there. So this is our actual like text here. And then we're going to say plus, to add a variable, we're going to add the money variable onto it so it can display how much money we have. Now, we can't just say plus money without the .toString here, because without that it won't work, because this is an integer. It will probably get an error here. We might not. No, maybe we won't. But it's just good practice to say .toString. What this is doing, I think we'd get an error when we actually ran the game, but this is saying we're going to get our money and convert it to a string. A string is basically anything in quotation marks. A string is, you know, characters, like words and things like that. Now we're going to Control S to save. Go over to Unity. It will save now. And now we don't even need to look at our game handler to see how much money we've got. So we can click this. And oh, it won't work because we need to go to our game handler. And we need to find our text in our canvas. Hold click on that and drag it into the money text, so we can actually set the variable to that text. Anyway, now as you click, it will increase your money. That's basically just that. Well, that's just the basics. Anyway, I'm going to file, now save, and that's the basics of making our first part of the idle game. Next episode, we're going to go a bit more advanced. We're going to look at click powers and sort of more customizable buttons and things like that. But anyway, thanks for watching this episode so far. I hope you enjoy all this series, and goodbye.